In the run-up to some classes that I'm teaching about tintype portraits, I thought I'd convert a 4x5 film holder to work with Wetplate. The procedure is fairly easy and fairly straightforward, but I thought I'd show you how to do it. So let's check it out. So here we go. This is a 4x5 film holder. It's designed to hold 2 sheets of film, one on each side. And what we're going to do is we are going to modify this to take Wetplate. Now, this is a 4x5 holder, but once we modify it, we can't shoot 4x5 in it because of these rails on the inside here. So what we've got to do is we have to commit to a smaller format. Now, I thought about doing quarter plate, but then I realized that I think Polaroid would be good because I've got some other Polaroid cameras, and if I'm going to be cutting tin for that anyway, might as well make it multi-format, or meaning that I can shoot this format on a couple of cameras. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to mark the area where the image will be. Now, what we're going to be doing is we're going to be cutting this septum out, and we're going to do that with a Dremel and a cutting wheel. But before we do that, we have to mark where we're going to be. Now, this is the size of Polaroid that we're going to be using. So I'm just going to put this in here and center it. Yeah, it looks good. Okay, we're going to mark. Okay. So this is what we're going to be cutting out. Now, if you're doing this, I cannot recommend highly enough that you wear safety glasses, because if you don't, terrible, terrible things can happen. Okay, here we go. Oh, before we begin, one thing to absolutely make sure of, make sure you take both of these out, because we're going to be cutting all the way through this, and you don't want to ruin one of your dark slides. So here we go. This is the point of no return. Okay, so with all that cutting done, we have this septum, and this is really a thick septum made of metal. I wasn't prepared for that. I didn't think that would be the case. But what we're going to do now is we're going to... You have to forgive me for the background noise. There's a kids' class going on outdoors. So I've equipped this this file here, and I'm just going to go through and just even all of this out in here. Now we're ready to drill some holes, and what we got to do is we've got to make little staples out of this wire. This is silver wire, and we need to mark some holes to drill with these very tiny drill bits. And I've decided that I'm going to mark the holes They're all going to be about 8 millimeters away from the edge. Now, this isn't going to be terribly accurate 8 millimeters, but what we want to do is we just want to make sure these wires sit across the corner of the plate so that the plate is held in place inside the holder. Okay, here we go. So after ruining a couple of drill bits, I finally got through, and we've got our holes here. And what we need to determine is which side is going to be the loading side and which side is going to be the exposure side. And I think that's a good question. I think this will be the exposure side and this will be the loading side. So let's make sure that the silver wire goes through. Yes, it does. Excellent, excellent. And then and we're going to cut this silver wire. Now you may ask, does it have to be silver wire? Well, silver wire won't react to the collodion and silver, right? Because it's already silver. Regular steel wire or brass wire may start to react because it'll be in direct contact with the silver and the collodion. So keep thinking, think about that. But from what I understand, stainless steel wire will be fine. So if that's all you've got, you use what you've got. Okay. So what we do is we make basically staples. Like this, that will fit. Go. We want these to be okay. Notice how we folded down these bits of the wire on the other side, and we'll go over this with epoxy, 2-part epoxy to secure that. Notice how this is straight across, and it's going to sit there and it'll support the plate in the plate holder. So we see now we have these wires on the other side, and we will be gluing those down with a 2-part epoxy. Cool. Let's get that going. Okay. Now, what we got to do now is just wait for this to dry, and that's going to be going to let it dry for about 24 hours. The epoxy has dried overnight, and now we're going to see if everything fits. Let's okay. That works. No whammies, no whammies. Ooh. Okay, everything fits. That's excellent. Now, the next thing we have to do is I want to label this. I want to label this so that I remember which side is which. And this idea of labeling things, I mean, you could just put a little mark here and that's fine. I want to give myself permission to be forgetful and silly. So I've made some labels that will go on the loading side. Now, of course, you don't have to use a label maker. You could just use a piece of tape. That's the loading side. And then I've also made another label for this side. Now, this label is basically to remind me that this is not the side to open when I'm either loading or unloading the plate. I think this label is just as important as the other one. Here we go. A little squint, but that's okay. The next thing I have to tackle is this here. Now, this reflective area is going to cause problems in the exposure. So what we're going to do is, at some point later, I'm going to get some black nail polish and paint that with black nail polish, and it'll be fine. So we're going to check that the plates fit. Yeah, it's not pretty, but it works. But the last thing we need is some kind of spring here. So we're going to take a drink container, carefully don't need all of it, and I'm going to cut out the sticky part where the label was sticking, and I think I'll probably cut this in half again. Perfect. Now I have a spare. And the way this will work, when you're unloading this back in the darkroom, you want to keep your hand over the top of this so that the spring doesn't get away from you. This is done. Excellent. I'm really pleased with this, and it was a really simple modification to do. And the only thing I would suggest if you're doing this is that you use a hacksaw instead of a Dremel. I think that the Dremel is a bit dangerous and it's a bit sloppy. I think that you could be a lot more precise if you had like a jeweler's saw, and I don't have a jeweler's saw, so this was my only option, but this can be done with a variety of tools. Hey, thanks for joining me for this little DIY project. It's still not 100% finished. I've still got to get some black nail polish and cover that bit up, but it's very, very close. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this, and we'll see you again real soon.